God racist, yes or no? That's the question of the day.
Which God?
Which God? Oh,
Yeah.
because
Jesus was a brown socialist from Palestine, so I don't.
He was a brown socialist from Palestine.
Yeah.
Can you prove that he was from Palestine?
Look where he was born.
Yeah.
Where?
Bethlehem.
Well, yeah, Bethlehem is
But that's the Israel. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but when you say brown skin, there's so many brown skin. Like
Yeah.
you got Ethiopians is brown skin. How do you differentiate?
You got Indians that's brown skin.
Yeah, when you say brown skin, like I'm brown
Okay,
skin.
Jesus,
so real quick, this brother's
Yeah.
brown skin. So
Yeah.
could Jesus look like this brother?
Could have, yeah.
Hey man.
Yeah.
I think it says in the Bible that he was copper.
Oh,
It's you, yeah.
Did it say he had an afro too?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
But he was not
like
he
hair
was
like
not
wool.
the blonde-haired, blue-eyed.
yeah.
How do you think that image got around?
In I think it was the 13th or 14th century when
I'm a player.
one of the popes used his own son as an image of Jesus.
What
Right.
was the
And
agenda behind
it
it?
was what was what?
What was the agenda behind it?
Well, he his son was this handsome man, I guess, and so I don't know.
Would you say white supremacy had anything to do with that?
And at the time, I think it was more about 13th, 14th. I think
What was the Renaissance
the Borgia
about?
Pope. I think it was around that time.
Yeah.
So around the time where just before colonialism really began.
Yeah, you would kind of think about it. It would have to be about racism because, right? Obviously, white people were, pushing the image, but they didn't go and push an image of a black Jesus or
No, they didn't.
Ethiopian or Chinese Jesus. So if they push an image based on themselves, by that logic alone,
And
it would
that
seem
could
like
be
it
the
would
thing. Like,
have
why
to
did he pick his own son?
But it would
right?
seem like it would have to be racist. Like I couldn't mind read them
Or is it more like at the time? So I think it's a pretty nuanced thing in this case because I think at that time it was more about the church trying to when say in Spain when they came to when the colonial colonists came to the United States, one of the things that they did was when you talk about cultural appropriation and stuff. One of the things that they did was take holidays that native cultures had and made them Catholic holidays. So that's why in Latin America you have so many Catholic feast days. Is because they go into Latin America and say, no, this is no longer the celebration of the sun. This is the celebration of the Lady of Guadalupe or whatever. So if you look at Catholic feast days in the calendar and how they correlate to certain countries and times, a lot of that was because of imperialism and colonization and stuff that. And it was their way of integrating those societies into their not integrating but
almost forcing them because they never had a culture or a holiday to celebrate Christmas. Right, let's just look at the Native Americans.
Look at the origins of Christmas. That was a pagan holiday.
Well, we understand that it's pagan, but I'm saying that the Native Americans, the Latinos, that's now getting pushed out by ICE, they never celebrated these former holidays.
Right.
So the people that did celebrate it came over here with it, and not only did they force this particular image of a righteous man, which about the Cesarors, the Borgias, right?
Yeah.
That he was not a righteous man. In fact, his lover was the painter who painted him, right? Which was Leonardo.
Yeah.
So
was it Leonardo that?
Was it Leonardo or Michelangelo? It was one of the Jokers. It was one of the Ninja Turtles. So let's say it like that, right? So in reality, when you look at it, right, it had to have been racism because they didn't go around and push another image, and then they pushed holidays that didn't concern these people. And then when you even look at it to this day, because back then, 1600s, right? ICE, or if ICE exists, right, ICE will be actually, with no offense, what's your name again? Matt. So with no offense, Matt, ICE will be going around picking you, your cousin and your nephew up, right? Y'all would be the people who ICE would go and be rounding up now, right, in the 1600s, because y'all would be the foreigners that came over here. So I find it, and I'm pretty sure you do too, because you look like you know some level of history, that the ironicness of it, because the same people who was so nice to these people, showing them how to cook, showing them how to cultivate the land, because obviously you didn't know this, right? And even some stories showing how to even wash up. So the same people that helped cultivate the land and showed them so much is now being persecuted and being pushed out of the land, that they said, hold up, y'all can come to this land because we have so much land here, right? And we all can share, right? They teach what the Americans say that they preach down, right? Let's all love each other, right? This was actually their way, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Naturally.
they were communal societies and everything.
So-
They shared everything.
So would you say that America is putting on a facade that this is not actually their way? They're really not a really loving group, right? Would you say America really is
As
a loving group?
collective, I mean,
Yeah.
we have 330 million people.
Well,
And
not
so,
individually,
like, I
not
think, like,
individually. Like
policy-wise,
obviously,
there are times
Matt,
where
you may
obviously
care,
not.
but I'm just saying your
Yeah.
government as a whole.
That's a hard question.
It is a hard question because, like, the agenda of a nation is not necessarily the agenda of the individuals
Okay.
that make up that nation, right? And the government is so, like, you don't have just like one government. You know, you have multiple. I would say, like.
So who did you? Well, I don't really want to ask you. Who did you vote for?
That's what you're
Oh,
asking.
okay. So your individual vote didn't count because people say you're.
Or did it change?
Yeah, it didn't actually change anything. It didn't change the algorithm.
Well,
of
it did.
Yeah.
In some ways, right? Like, I'm part of the 39% of. I looked at like kind of the demographic breakdown of the people who voted in by like age, race, whatever, and only 39% of white males voted for Kamala Harris, and it was about the same for Biden in 2020. And I think like I'm not one of these people at all who's like your vote doesn't matter. I used to feel that way a little bit, but I'm not at all now, and I think every vote's important because. The 2016 results of the election in 2016, because I was not a.
That was Donald Trump, right?
That was when Trump beat Clinton.
First time, yeah.
Yeah. And before that, I was like a third party voter because I was kind of one of those.
Oh, okay.
One of those people who's like, oh, both parties are not equally bad because but they don't. I used to feel like they don't have the interests of the people they represent in mind, and that's changed a lot.
So with that, with what you just said, right? They don't have the interests of the best people in mind.
I don't believe that anymore.
Where do you feel as though America is headed? Because those are the people that are in charge. So where do you think America is headed with the people that don't have the interest of the people?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I think it really
You think it's someplace good?
is the direction we're heading now.
And
good?
yeah.
And I think most people agree with that.
Okay.
I don't know, but I want you guys to answer the first question. Is God racist?
Yeah.
It's God racist.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is this though.
I really think it was more the weaponization of God.
Okay.
Right? Because, like, I see it.
You believe in
The
God?
weaponization of religion, right? Like,
Okay.
using God as a tool to push an agenda or in things that are like completely.
What if I tell you that we believe in God, but we don't believe in any religion? We don't follow any religion. How do you?
I believe that. I mean, I could see that. Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
I think so.
You think you believe in God?
Yeah.
You believe in a power higher than yourself outside of
absolutely.
obviously.
So you're agnostic.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I am.
Well, you got to figure it out, man.
Because if you're right, like if everybody's right, then everybody's wrong, right? So like, I had a buddy who was I'm retired military.
Okay.
And I had a buddy who was in Iraq, and it just one of the things he emailed me when he was over there really made me think. And he's like, you know, people are blowing up each other over here over religion, and it kind of like made me think like if everybody's right, like then everybody has to be wrong, right? So like, man, I don't
That's
know.
deep, but it sounds more.
Are you guys agnostic or what?
No, we believe in the God of the Bible.
Well, agnostic is you can still believe in God.
Yeah,
But we don't-
said you don't. You're not.
But
You're
we
not
know-
religious.
we're not on the fence.
Yeah, we know
what's
which
your-
God we believe in.
Yeah.
You
Well,
believe in a God.
we believe in the
God.
creator of the universe. We believe there's other gods, or what we would say little gods under him, but we believe in a supreme being. And going back to our original question, which I'll answer for you, that God is a racist because he created all people, just like how you can have different fowls in the air, right? But
You may particularly favor the eagle over the blue jay or the ostrich, right? Now, can I discriminate against your opinion? No, that's your opinion, right? Now, so how much more is it the person who created all things? Because you will be superior to him because you will have an emotion that he doesn't have, right? Because you can have favorites, but then he can create all these different things. We see all the unique races, right? The same thing with cattle, right? He is a whole lot of different unique cattle, right? But he will be biased if he favors something that he made, but then you can favor something right out of all these different creations.
But do you think just because, say, like, white people are the colonialists and have the earthly power, that means that they are favored by God?
Well, hold up. Well, actually, God
Like-
being racist, we're not saying that God is a racist against us. Actually, God favors us, even though we would be on Section 8 or on the low status of this world. Even though you're right, right? White people did took over America. They took over a lot of different spots, but just because of that, it doesn't mean that God's favoring them. Why? Because due to the narration of the Bible says that God put Satan over this earth. So whoever has the power of the earth currently would be under the authority of Satan himself and not God. So that people who would actually be the least without would be because God always been.
It goes back to the Beatitudes,
God always
right?
been with the underdog.
Yeah.
So he never been with the same way why we like the Rocky movies and everything.
Yeah.
It's because of God, because God always takes the people or the person who people think the least of, nothing much from, and raises them up. Now let's go back to God being
Like
racist.
the meek shall inherit the earth, the first shall be last.
Right, and when you look at meek, who can be more meek than black people, right? Right, people, we know our history, right? Because you've been in the army, right? So, and you know about World War II, World War I, of black people that was in the army and treated real bad and fought for and died for this country, right? So, what people can be afflicted by all these different races, but then still have a level of love and respect and humility for these particular people that did this to them, or just any people at all, right? Actually, the main people who people would mainly think should be atheists should be these people, because hundreds of years they've been subjugated, right, trodden underfoot, right, walked over, name called, right, disliked based upon how they actually physically look, which you cannot change, right? You can change your physical weight, but I can't actually take the hue out of my skin, right? So you would think that we would be the most anti against God, but we come to find out that actually God favors us more, even in our lower state. Why? Because when you look at it, even from a physical standpoint, the fastest man that ever was, right? Even the last 5 fastest men was dark-skinned man, right? A study comes out and says, as far as boxing goes, the reason why a lot of our boxers succeed is because they say that our bones are actually the most densest bones out of any race that's on this earth, right? I didn't make myself this way, right? God gave us these particular bones and made us more heavier. So when you're heavier, you land heavier punches, right? And this is why y'all exceed in what? And swimming, because the bones being lighter, meaning what? You can move faster, right? That's just logic, right? And then even when you look at even our women now, it's Cameron Diaz, or well, not Cameron Diaz, what Joel? Where's Brad Pitt was in the Angie Jolie, right? Some of them Scarlett Johansson, right? We know white women are some beautiful women, but it pales in comparison, right, to black women. This is not my opinion. Why? Because somebody who wasn't black made a statement and said, once you go black, you what?
Never come back.
They never made a statement and said, once you go white,
it's all right, or whatever. I don't know. I was trying to rhyme it, but
You never dated a black woman?
no.
Right,
No,
so we
but
see from a physical
more on a-
standpoint
not
that
for any, like,
we're
Spanish
reason. No.
so we just see like
If you go out, turn off the camera, I'll be
All
honest.
right.
Like,
maybe a little later
I'll tell
on.
you like some truth, but
Maybe a little later on. So we see from a physical standpoint that we are more special and that God chose us over people, just from a physical standpoint, because again, nobody could had endured what we endured, like the Great Depression that America went through, right? The suicide rate was extremely high when I'm looking at the numbers and doing research on it, right? But we've been going through a Great Depression ever since we've been in America, right? But we never had a giant spike in suicide, right? And just, you know what? Hey, man, I'm not going to eat today, right? It's okay.
I need to research that. I think that if that's an interesting statistic, and I'd be curious to see where that comes from and why.
Well, because it was a lack of jobs, a lack of funds.
No, I mean why the suicide rates were not higher in black men during certain periods of time.
No, I'm not saying that we don't stress or deal with post-traumatic stress. For sure we do, right? We suffer from things that our forefather went to as it is to this very day. But what I'm saying is that we, through God, not not to say it's any of ours. For God gave us a mental. Yeah, he gave us a mental stability that it seemed like, to not say other people don't have individually, but as a race, it seems like everybody else pales in comparison. Because do you think that any race outside of black people, right? Let's just use Asian people, right? That they could go through 400 years of segregation and then still be, we know for a fact that, not to say it like this, we'll probably edit this out, that Jewish people can't do this. Why? Because America helped separate them from their enemy. Right? What's going on, man? We'll talk to y'all next. Right? So we see that the Jewish people, right, they got separated from the Germans because they were being oppressed by them. But in America, they just said, listen, man, God said, forgive and forget. Let bygones be bygones. Joe Biden, right, during the COVID time period, Asian people were getting pushed around on the subway. I don't know if you remember that.
Trump was president.
Oh, okay. I know that Joe Biden made the bill.
Really peaked in the summer of 2020.
Okay, that was Joe Biden's time.
Whole, what did he call it?
Stop Asian hate bill.
Trump was calling it Kung Flu, and they were blaming Chinese people, and so Asian hate really went on the rise.
But through that, right, it started a Stop Asian Hate bill that was, I don't know, I think it was 50 million or something around that line. But we have yet, and again, we've been in America, maybe 200, 250 years before Asian people, right? So we see that it has been no Stop Black Man Hate bill, Stop Mexican, Latino, Native American, right? And we'll be pretty much, dead and gone. Keep waiting for a bill like that. But these people, they had a couple COVID virus jokes. We dealt with cartoons made out of us that we could still go and look up on YouTube and see this. The ice cream theme song. You probably don't know that.
Yeah, Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah, there is so much, man.
What's the
all of that.
What's the solution? Yeah, where do you go? What's the solution?
Well, the solution is very simple. Because this is why it's very important we ask you if you believe in God. Because if you believe in God, God outlines the solution in that Bible right there. So it goes along the line of, can I get Numbers 35? And this is because some people will say this is hate begetting hate, right? But there's
what is
seeking justice. They'll say when we say stuff like that, is it hate begetting hate or is it justice? If somebody breaks into your house, right, and steals or rapes your wife, would you say, oh, if I go and get justice, that's hate? Or if I go and prison him, or if he gets the death penalty, is that hate? Because a friend of mine just told me how her brother got stabbed in the head while she was in a Chinese store, and they got him, and he's getting the death penalty. Now, is it hate for that person to die? Because the dude wasn't in the wheelchair, couldn't defend himself, got stabbed in the head. So there's a line between hate and justice. And it seems like whenever we speak up about starting a revolution or getting rights for ourselves, or at least getting some type of autonomy, then it transcends the line of justice into hate.
But what would you like? I guess what I'm asking is what.
Well, first
type of America would you like to see, or what would
we'd like to see an America
be?
So we would like to see an America that's following the laws of God, right? So the brother's gonna read you something real quick, and then we're gonna see what sort of America would that be if we follow just that one thing. You got it for me? 25, 35, Numbers 35 and 23. 20 or 35 and 33.
Oh yeah, kind of. Yeah. 35 verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
So what would you say that means?
Can I reread it?
Yeah. That's Numbers 35 and 33.
So 27 says, the revenger of blood, if he kill this, essentially it says, if he kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
Yeah.
But this is the Old Testament.
So you don't believe the Old Testament?
No, I'm not saying that. When Jesus came back, he gave 2 commandments, right? Mm-hmm. Only 2.
No, the context of that is different than what people modern day think it is. The context of Jesus saying 2 commandments. Somebody asked the master, which is the greatest commandment?
And he said,
these 2 hang the law. Not that the law is just these 2.
And just like how you got a closet, if you hang a hanger,
I'm getting old, so like I don't have my.
But just like how you got a closet, when you hang a hanger, you're not just hanging an empty hanger. You're putting a coat, a pair of pants, a shirt on top of it. So Christ said, these 2 are the hanger, and they hang. Everything else is holding up on top of it, right? So that's the rest of them laws.
So what do we think about that law?
I think like if you look at it in context, if you read this, like it would arguably justify the death penalty.
What's the context?
Yeah, it does justify
it would. Yeah.
However,
it shouldn't be upheld in America.
Don't America uphold the death penalty? They didn't put that away.
The U.S. has the death penalty, and I think some states have outlawed it, some states haven't.
Yeah, but it's in totality.
Until last year or 2 years ago, no, it was until 2020, I think, we hadn't had a
case of it being used.
Except I think Timothy McVeigh was like the last person we had put to death until.
Do you think the death penalty should be outlawed?
Man, I think that one is super complicated because when you look at okay, like there's a difference between
a scripture to combat that.
Yeah, some math.
At least you're honest, man. I like you, man. You're honest.
When you look at like serial killers, and you look at some of like there are evil people, pedophiles, there are evil people who do massive harm to people. I think that is completely different than like circumstance. Like
well, the Bible
you know
understands
what I mean?
that.
I think people, and I think like I grew up Catholic, and the church generally believes that everybody is savable, right? Like nobody is unsalvageable. But I think that there are people that should be nowhere near members of society.
Just one question, because you said the church feels that everybody is savable or salvageable.
Yeah.
But
I realize it's contradictory for me to say, but serial killers should be put to death. These people over here.
But who has molested and been pedophiles to children more than the church itself?
Many, well, not just the Catholic Church.
I mean, no, I'm just saying the church.
They have a name. They have a reputation for that.
When you're just speaking about the church wanting to forgive people, of course, a pedophile would be the main one saying, "Let's just let bygones be bygones." So let's not take the church.
I don't think that
because they're hypocrites.
I don't think that like.
Well, what you're saying, Matt, sounds good, but it doesn't really initiate any type of change. Because if you're saying, well, everybody's salvageable, that leaves.
So, are you pro death penalty?
If it's calls for it, because I believe what the Bible calls for. Because what you said, the Bible isn't so like morally ambiguous that it doesn't say, oh, you can't defend yourself. That's not what the Bible says. Right. There's a law that says if you break into my house and it's daylight and I happen to kill you, then I have to be justified. Yeah. But if it's nighttime, then I kill you, I can't be held accountable for that because you broke into my house, and I couldn't see even to spare your life. So the Bible has these things built in it in mind. But when we say everybody's redeemable, we take away accountability. Because what you did, you still have to be accountable for your actions.
I think you can still be redeemable and be held accountable.
So
for
how do
your actions, right? Like you look at somebody kills somebody in a crime of passion, and then they get in prison, and then they spend the rest of their life trying to not make up. I don't think you can ever really like make up for taking. I don't think it's like a
murder.
Oh well, I did this bad thing, but I did this good thing over here, so it all equals out. But I do think that there is some.
That is Christianity.
That's the way they taught me.
Otherwise, they wouldn't tell you, oh, if you go to the priest and you say 5 Holy Marys, then you're forgiven of your sins, right? Because that's what equaling out is. But what the Bible teaches is that there needs to be a fear of God, because you have to be scared to even commit these things. Because God, there's a saying in the Bible where every time it tells you to kill somebody, it tells you, so you shall remove evil from this community. Okay. If somebody does this act, like let's say for example, I commit a heinous act, but then they're like, oh well, he's redeemable. and then he leaves. Maybe I might not commit that act, but somebody might see me and say, "Oh, I can get away with it
But the
too."
redemption part doesn't mean you say, "Oh, you did this act, but you're redeemable, so you're not going to prison." Like you still will fulfill your
But
what's the punishment
obligation.
or whatever. Yeah.
But the problem with that is you're still alive. For you to for somebody else to say, "Well, I won't die if I do it."
Yeah, I'll just do some time.
Yeah, I'll just do some time and I'll get out.
Yeah, I mean, you have those people. That's true. I mean,
So
for
it's
civils and rights,
so
but
what God is
we also
teaching
have a
is
terrible criminal
a
justice
final
system that has
fear,
nothing to-
like something you cannot escape. Which, if you value your life, the whole problem stems from if you value your life, you wouldn't do this anyway. It wouldn't be a problem if you valued your life. If you fear God enough and you wanted to live, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But because we don't value our life or because we don't fear God enough, this is why we like to dispute stuff. Oh, well, I don't think it should be like this. I think it should be like this. Well, if you don't want the consequences, don't commit the crime. Right? If I don't want to put to death, if I don't want to be put to death for sleeping with your wife, I shouldn't be sleeping with your wife.
But again, I think you can still fulfill the consequence. You can still be redeemable and be held accountable. I mean, you think about like none of us are perfect, right? So are we not given an opportunity to like correct ourselves and live a good life and live a life of service to others and things like that, you know?
But let's play advocate, against what you're saying, because you have a logic the way you're going, but let's just look at it from a positive way, but from a reverse way of how you're looking at it, right? So let's just say somebody does die for, let's just say, committing being a pedophile, pedophilia, right? So he dies from that. So now you have 10, 25 other people who would become pedophiles now because of that fear decide to not do that act and then walk in a completely opposite way. So now instead of people being like, well, this person was redeemable, right? No, this person lost his life, right? I value that. So let me walk
earlier we kind of separated some. I said earlier, like certain people are not
redeemable. Well, how do you know that?
Like John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer or like.
But you don't know. But you don't know until after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, you could have kept going. Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. All these were slave moments, right? Abraham Lincoln said that if he would have preserved if Union and not let the slave,
he would have done.
He would say, hell no. Yeah. Only releasing the slaves or freeing the slave was
it gave him a moral argument
right,
to get the French into the war.
Exactly.
That was part of it. I was a history major,
but they pushed Abraham Lincoln on us, no disrespect, as if he's a hero that we should look at because of what he did for the slaves. When in reality, when we actually got older and studied these books, like how you did, like you said, you went to school. We didn't go to school to study this, so they just told us, particularly this history in school. We had to, on our own free time, go study things and find out. Hold up, our government that we love so much, tried at 9/11 and everything, actually is not teaching us correct history.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we all know that, right? That
well,
we definitely have a whitewashed history that paints everything that we've done as this like good patriotic thing, and we know historically that that's not always the case.
It's very hard for people to be honest with the history of America.
Well, I mean, it's history, right? Like it is what it is. Like there's there's a paragraph in a book I read that said we should stop treating our country's history as if it's a family history.
I like that.
Right?
Like
you take a step back and look at it objectively. Like you can acknowledge I can acknowledge the bad things we've done as a nation, but still love this country and want it to be the idea of what we claim it is. And maybe a lot of people don't agree with the idea or think that idea, but that's it. It's an idea of a more perfect union.
Do you think we can still get that? Because I believe that America is too far going to be.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
they got too many wrongs. They need the right.
Too much blood on their.
I hope we can, but there's always that fear in me that I don't know. I hope we can. I just don't know.
One final question before we let you go. Right? So, we're the school of thought that World War III is going to come sooner rather than later. You say you have military experience, so
Yeah.
would you tell us how far off we are or how right we are?
Oh, I don't know. I think, yeah.
Looking at geopolitics, do you think that's avoidable, or
Yeah, I don't think we're close.
you don't think we're close to World War III? Why is
I
that?
think that, well, who are like still the big three superpowers in the world right now? It's China, the United States, Russia, arguably the top three. And then you look at like the economies of like throw in Germany. Germany has a strong economy. I think Japan has a strong economy. Ultimately, it's going to boil down to the preservation of economic stability, in my opinion. And I think that until there's some disruption to that, I don't think we're going to have, like, even with what's going on with the Ukraine and Russia, I'm not of the mindset that like, oh, Putin's going to drop a nuke. I mean, I just don't. And I've heard like, I don't know. I think we tend to want to like sensationalize stuff, and I just don't see it happening. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. We're of the belief system that it is going to happen.
Yeah.
It might not be as simple as, oh, Putin's just pressing a button, but we see the relations between America and NATO like slowly like deteriorating a little bit, where
but I think
America's falling out of favor.
I've had this conversation with somebody a few weeks ago about like the role, and it was more of, how do I kind of phrase it? Like our world alignment, like as the United States, has really been with Europe over the since World War II ended, right? And it was all about like, preventing communism, but really it was preventing like Russi's influence or the Soviet Union's influence and everything like that, right? So all of the decisions that we made as a country were at some point to
stop the
like either stem the tide of their influence, whether it was Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam, Korea, things like the Iran-Contra affair. Our involvement in Iran was even because Iran bordered the countries of the Soviet Union there, right? So is it more of just a realignment of like who our allies are and our power structure is, or you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I don't know.
So you think it's going to be a realignment?
And I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good, but no, I don't know that I think it's going to be that way. I'm thinking that maybe that's a possibility, like that we can't rule that out. And it's not a question of like right or wrong. It's just a question of
when,
if, or
really when you think about it, is when, because I mean, bro said this is the last question, so I'm gonna just make this statement. Is that in reality, no kingdom lasts forever. So I know for sure that you studying history that you can't possibly think that America will last for. You may think it'll last for my lifetime and be cool with that, but in reality, America can't last forever because no kingdom has ever lasted forever, right?
I mean, you go back throughout history and see that, right? You go back to like the ancient Babylon. You can go the Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese had several different iterations of dynasties in power. The UK.
And just your opinion on and just your opinion on this, because a lot of kingdom was destroyed, right, based on how they were built. Right, a lot of kingdoms were built on nonsense or trickery, robbery of different things, and they were torn down the same way. Right, even Rome, right, was kind of torn down by doing what they would call hoax. Right, say that a particular person, set this place on fire. Right, so now we're justified in going and doing this, and America's playing the same games. So America, we understand that they were established by what? Trickery, robbery, lying, deceit, right, and slavery. So by default, if history is only going to repeat itself, then it's going to be destroyed by the same, right? You cannot stack up evil and then flatten it out and then lay a rug over top of it. Eventually your house is going to end up stinking because there's a whole lot of trash that's in America's house. So the same way that America was established on trickery, robbery, and murder, right, would you say that would be the same way how it will fall?
Yeah, I think like when you look at it, like at least in Rome, it was power struggles because of greed and because of God, what's the word I'm looking for? Begins with an A, aspiration or What do we? Yeah, ambition. Thank you. You did that. You got me twice already. All right. So greed and ambition for power or whatever. And I mean, you see that here, right? Like, there's people who will do whatever it takes to cling to power. They'll do whatever it takes to cling to money. And so when you look at like our influence of money on our political system and the laws that we pass, like very rarely are we passing laws that are actually working in favor of like working Americans. It's usually to benefit a company or an agenda or essentially people with wealth and money. In 2014, when the Supreme Court ruled on Citizens United that money was a form of speech, well, then you have all these super PACs just pumping money into politics to get their bills passed. And who's left out in the cold? It's like working Americans, right? And our representation is getting smaller and smaller, partially because of money, but partially because we only have 435 congressional seats, where in 1910 in the United States, one congressman represented 100,000 people. Today, one congressman represents 750,000 people. So your voice, even within that one congressional, is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's also being overshadowed by more and more money. I mean, I think if there is a collapse, it's going to be within, but it's not going to be the people that they say it is.
Well, Matt, we'll let you go with that, but just to let you know that don't have no fear, because guess what? America being destroyed, right? The black people will rule next. So then we'll have the world next, and let's have a shot, and let's have a shot to get everything together, because America had a chance, right? So why can't blacks and Latinos get a chance, man?
How worse can we do?
Right? How bad can we do? Right?
How worse can we do?
That's according to
I
the
don't
Bible.
know,
That's
man.
why we believe in the Bible. The Bible says we got next.
2 world wars. We can't do any worse than that.
Yeah, don't get me started on like the GI Bill administration, like in the South and all that stuff, man.
So you're cool with us ruling, though, right?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
you know,
man,
as long
there
as long
you
as
go, Matt. There you go, Matt.
as long as you make sure me and my family are good, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna have you, man.
When the revolution starts,
Yeah.
put something in the door, man.
Like
All right.
Passover, right?
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
All
Be
right,
safe,
so let
Matt.
me ask you, like, what do you guys do? Like, what's your
Matter of fact, let him get the channel. Let him get the card so he can take a picture. Championship
Actually,
channel.
I got a paper.
Oh yeah.